Hey guys, welcome back to another video. It's your man Jay Wells. So this is 3 months with the Pixel 3. So let's recap here. The Pixel 3 has a 5.5-inch display, 12 megapixel camera on the rear, 4 gigs of RAM, a Snapdragon 845, 2,915 milliamp hour battery inside. Running the latest Android with a POLED display. That display is 1080 by 2160. Gives you 443 pixels per inch. So that's pretty exciting. Corning Gorilla Glass 5, HDR10 compliant. It has got always on display, obviously, and it's really packed in there, and it's really good. So there's two models. There's a 4 gig, 64 gig model, and a 128 gig model. So, and it's also got dual 8 megapixel cameras on the front right here, because you can do a wide angle shot from the front, kind of like a group selfie thing. Stereo speakers, wireless charging. Bluetooth 5.0. It's got the dual band Wi-Fi, Type-C 3.1, and it delivers power delivery 2.0. It says, and then you've got fast wireless charging. You know, let's get into 3 months with this thing. It's actually been really good to me. Actually, the first 2.5 months, people complained about the recording, the microphones. Here we are, 2.5, 3 months in, and Google has fixed that finally. And I'm really impressed with this phone. So I use this phone for several reasons. I use it for lots of phone calls. I mean, this is the phone number that I have on my Google Fi. I've had Google Fi for a very long time, probably about 3 years now. And I use this phone number for that reason. I get a lot of phone calls on here. I make a lot of phone calls on here. I still have all my emails and everything synced with this phone, just like every other phone laying on this table. And I use it daily. Like literally I'm on there daily. Along the way, it's gotten a few updates. Again, the last update fixed the recording with the audio. And I think that was important to a lot of people. It comes in 3 colors, clearly white, just black, and not pink. Obviously, this is the just black version. And I've had the skin on here since the beginning, I guess. Probably about 2 weeks in, I guess I got it. So how's the phone been in just regular daily use? What don't I like about it for regular daily use? So I don't like to carry a case on this phone because it's so small. But when I do carry it, I put a bulkier case on it because it gives it the grip that this phone needs. On the sides though, and again around the house, I don't use a case, but the sides are slippery. I do have the other version of this skin where I could just cover it up, but I just choose not to, because I take it in and out of cases and I'm sure that'll start to peel after a while. So I just don't do it. But overall, it has enough grip in my hand to where it's going to be good when holding it like this. So with that being said, the display, the stereo speakers on here, coupled with this display. Now, this display is said to be a small display, but I've always said that when is a 5.5-inch display small, you know? So the display itself, super impressed with it. It is POLED, so it's really nice. I do have a white stone dome glass on here. And it's giving it some protection. Before I put the glass on here, there was a lot of little micro scratches that had come up. And you know, it's just a thing. But the stereo speakers on here, they are impressive. Let's go into some videos here. Let's go to my channel up here and just pump on something real quick. Where's that latest one? Actually, let's go ahead and do this right here.
All right, guys, welcome back.
I feel like the stereo speakers on here are absolutely fantastic, especially listening to media consumption like music and stuff like that. I personally like to lay my phone down. And did I mention the Ip68 rating? I might not have. Ip68 rating on here. So far as the media consumption for video and music, these are some of the best speakers I've ever heard on the device, man. And I've got phones with stereo speakers. These just sound great. They actually have great tone to them as well. And I'm really impressed with it. So that's something that I feel like, the phone really shines at. There's not a lot of small powerhouse phones. I remember Grant S. Shout out to Grant S. for saying that in one of his videos. He was talking about the Sony Xperia Compact. There's a lot of phones out there that are huge, but they're powerhouses, but they're big. And there's not a lot of small, compact powerhouse phones. And I don't know if this is what Google was getting at by making the smaller version like this, but they did a good job, man. They did a good job with this phone, and I'm truly impressed with it for what it's offering. It really checks all the boxes. If it had a headphone jack, other phones might be in trouble, but it doesn't have a headphone jack, so some people might say that that's a downside. But I've used Type-C with it, with the 3.5 as well, and I don't see a problem with it. It's fine, but media consumption on this phone is absolutely superb, man. It's just really a really good experience to me. So software wise, it's running Pi. It's running the latest Android Pi, and I'm impressed with it. I've never really had a problem with the software. I think that this is how, if you're going to experience Android, you need to experience it on a stock Android phone first, and then you can make the determination whether or not you want to switch to something with a skin, like this phone right here. And this is a lightly skinned stock version, but most of the phones I've been rocking with lately have stock, except for this phone right here. And this is getting close to stock. The Android One, the Samsung One UI I have on there. It's really decent, man. But overall, I don't have a problem with this software at all. It performs well. So I want to show you something in the software. It's called Digital Wellbeing. Now, this is something that I have set up on mine. You don't have to set this up, but I suggest that you do set it up. And I think you would probably be generally impressed with how well it works. So at night, I have mine going down to grayscale. So you can manage all your notifications and everything in here. You got your do not disturb. And I got it. It doesn't come default. It's show in the app list, but I put it in there. So if I go up here to there's 3 dots on the top, you can show I can turn off usage access. I can send feedback, check out the privacy and all that and everything. But I have it set in here under the wind down time to start at 12 a.m. and to turn off at 8:30 or when the next alarm arrives. So as you can see, you can set it to grayscale, and you can also have the do not disturb during that time. You can also have the nightlight schedule as well. I choose not to have that on, but ultimately the screen goes black and white, and it just dumbs everything down for you. And in this section right here, it lets you know what you're doing a lot of, or what you're doing the most at the moment. So today, obviously, I've been messing around with my Dyson fan. I have the new Dyson fan. Well, I got it about 2 weeks ago or whatever. But it comes with a remote, but you can control it from an application too. So I've just been kind of messing around with that while I was laying in my bedroom. Still a little under the weather from CES, but still, I've just been kind of messing around with that. You can see what I've been doing. The Google Play Store, messing around on Google, messing around in the settings, doing a little bit more Twitter, and just a little bit of YouTube. So it tells you how many notifications you've gotten in the last 11 minutes today. I've gotten 31 notifications, and I've unlocked the phone 9 times. So this is something that has been useful to me, and I think it's pretty cool, man. The settings, though, is simplified. It's really good. I found myself not using too much memory. I'm at about 50% capacity almost. And that's still enough for me. Having an SD card hasn't really been, and not having an SD card hasn't really been an issue for me. But overall, I'm used to doing it anyway. I only have 117 apps installed total, so I'm perfectly fine with that. Some people talk about battery life. I haven't experienced really bad battery life. Again, I just use this phone predominantly for phone calls. And so the screen on time is, in this particular setting, the screen on time is low. And the reason being is because I didn't take this phone to CES and it just kind of sat idle on my phone. So you can see the last charge. I charged it 3 days ago. I think when I got back from CES, I charged it. I'm not sure. I think I did. And then I've only made a few phone calls here lately because I have a SIM card in here and here, and one in another phone. So, and I haven't been in my office because I haven't been feeling well. And that's where I leave this phone at. It just sits here on my office desk. And if I'm in here taking care of business, that is where I'm talking on the phone with this phone. But overall, I generally get between, like when I take it with me somewhere, like if I'm going to out and about with some meetings or something, I have to be somewhere, I normally am getting between 5 and 6 hours of screen on time now. The battery's settling in, I guess. My usage is there, the same pretty much. So normally now I will say this phone has great standby time. When I don't use it, like there's days, or there's single charges where I have 7 days on a single charge and I only have like 2 hours of screen on time, and that screen on time is probably just because I'm talking to someone on speakerphone or something like that. And I want to sit the phone down and I'm emailing or texting at the same time. But predominantly I use this phone for phone calls, lots of phone calls. Oh, I also do a lot of video calling too and things like that, where it's internet protocols and things like that. So it's been good to me on battery. But if I did hammer it home and when I first got it, I was using it regularly, and I was getting between 4 and 5.5 hours of screen on time tops, probably on an average. But I think that's pretty good battery considering what this phone is doing for me. So some people always say this phone has bad battery. But I just don't think so. I think it's the user. Every user is going to be different. And I think you're going to be able to determine whether or not you think it's good battery life or not. But overall, man, the hardware to me is nice. I've heard people say this phone was ugly, and all kinds of things. And that's personal choice. I respect that. If they think it's ugly. I think when I didn't have the skin on here, I actually was a nice little fan of having that dual display, that dual design, the color, the glass up top, and the matte frost down here. I think it was pretty cool. But it doesn't bother me. I like the look. I like how I've dressed it up with the skin, and I think it looks really cool. But the fingerprint reader works every time. Now the cameras, like I said, have been updated, and I use this phone for all of my thumbnails on my videos. That's another use that I put out of this phone. The cameras are so good on this phone. I just don't find other phones appealing sometimes when taking photos. Like if I would have taken this phone to CES, I probably would not have used the Galaxy Note as much for photos, but I would have used it for video because of the 60 frames per second video, which is something this phone does not do. And I'm perfectly fine with that at this point. It doesn't matter. The footage is fantastic that comes from this phone. Photos to me, I just keep it in portrait mode. I've told people, if you're going to use this phone, just keep it in portrait mode, get you a nice portrait shot. And then if you don't want to use the portrait shot, use the other version of it because it kicks out 2 versions of the portrait shot when you actually use it. So I think that's really good. Night sight on here, I use it sometimes, but I don't really have a reason to take photos late at night. But I have tested it out before, and it is just crazy how it just brightens up the light and brings the sharpness to the photos. It's unreal. So, 3 months with this phone, man, just regular use, man. No fancy, videos about it. Just the phone itself has been high, man. I think the Pixel has caught a lot of heat because of the price. A lot of people want the Nexus brand back, because that pricing was hot, which is kind of a shame that, they just killed off the Nexus brand. I think the hardware was probably better on the Nexus brand. That's just me. I think the Nexus 6P, the Nexus 6, those phones had killer hardware. I mean, they were completely different types of hardware, but they were sweet. They had the stereo speakers just there, and they had the big body. It was just really something about those that's really stood out. Premium hardware, man. The Nexus 6P is one of the best Nexus devices I think that was ever put out. And the Nexus 6, those are just great phones with hardware. So, the price is what killed this phone, is what's killing this phone. I think people are still buying this phone because you can easily get this on promo. Even Google, had a nice little trade-in joint where they can, you can get a nice little trade-in on your old Pixel. They were giving a pretty nice chunk for your old Pixel. So, I think that's going to happen again this year. They're going to probably, when they bring out the next Pixel, they're going to do the same thing again. And that's just the way it's going to be. So, it's your man, Jay. I really like the Pixel. 3 months in with it, I don't foresee it breaking anytime soon. I mean, unless I physically break it, but I normally keep it in a case if I decide to take it out. I'll charge it with my zero lemon case. I really plug in with the turbochargers that I have. I just, because I have so many phones I can choose from. So if the phone dies, I just plug it up and I just don't use it. I just use something else. So the phone is good, man. So if you have a Pixel 3 or a Pixel 3 XL, I hope you're enjoying it, man. I'm enjoying it. I've stuck with it for the long run. As far as like all the bad things that other people say about it, I don't really experience a lot of those things. No lag for me. I've heard people say there was lag. I don't have any lag with it. I'm over the fact that this bar is at the bottom. I'm over the fact that I got to just long press and keep swiping in order to get into here. The phone is fast, and that's just what it is. That's what it is. So I like it. The Pixel 3 is a win to me. Again, that $799 price tag is a bummer for a lot of people, and I do understand that. So if you can't get it on a promo, you're gonna have to pay that full cost, and that is what hurts this phone, I think, because this phone is a lot better than what it gets credit for. And now that they've fixed the things with the video, what else can you complain about? It's your man Jay. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.